Marker.
Hello, kinda critics. Today we're gonna do a review on Skyscraper. So Ryan, do you want to get it started? What are your thoughts on this movie?
Um, I'll say that this was one of Dwayne Johnson's most intense movies. Not one of the best movies. Most definitely one of his intense. Definitely not a blockbuster, but yet a great family film. Something you take the family to see probably on a Friday night. Um, I want to say this was definitely a three-star movie. Dwayne Johnson is a great actor, but this film was very lackluster with some of the characters around it. I think this would have just been a better movie had they left the family out. And like I understand they were trying to give it family value and let you get a little insight on how he lost his leg and things like that. But for the sake of time and for the sake of a better film, I think this would have just been a better movie had they made him obviously single, uh, knowing his math and stuff like that, and then going to the tower and obviously everything happening like that other than him giving him like a reason to do it. I mean, obviously his family was the reason he was inside the building anyway trying to save them, but like I said, they were almost not relevant characters if you ask me, but that's just my thoughts. What do you think, Jarek?
Yeah, no. I'm gonna be right there with you. Skyscraper to me was entertaining. Still proves that as long as you have Dwayne Johnson, your movie can't really suck that hard unless it's San Andreas. Now the first 25 minutes, I have to admit, of the movie is it's great. It builds Dwayne Johnson's character. Unlike you, I did like that they were bringing the exposition in a natural way. It didn't seem like they had to explain so much. It was a simple story. Of him being like this SWAT team, and we get to see part of his family, like his sense of drive, what makes him tick. And I really dug how the film made sure to break away the problems that The Rock has in most of his movies, where he is practically invincible. So they made him an amputee, which made him less of a fighter, I guess, and it really brought up the stakes. Now the movie's called Skyscraper because the towering inferno in question is this high-tech, slick building that is the titular point in which the movie takes place. It looks beautiful. I gotta admit, you gotta give them credit. This movie has one of the most realistic buildings for a film. They really most of that money definitely went on that. You know, and much of the time seems like it was spent on that, but that's about it. Uh, Once the actual building attack becomes the setup, everything feels empty. Explosions, some dialogue that is either not funny or just lead to later points when the plot demands a conclusion. Besides The Rock, we get some screen time and probably the worst antagonists that are all incompetent. They lack any methods and are just so bottom of the barrel that I wish they were just more over the top. I wish they hammed it up. They didn't though. I don't remember the villain's name without looking at the wiki page. I think his name was like what, Core. He was a terrorist.
It slips my mind as well.
Oh yeah, and he was actually played by someone very notable. He hasn't been in a lot. He's been in a couple movies. What's his name? He's got an O on his. He's got a cross on his O. What is that? Roland Moeller.
Mueller. I guess the O makes it's supposed to
I
make the
guess.
U sound. I don't know.
Well, I
Yeah,
told you he was like Danish, right? Yeah.
yeah.
And he's a Danish actor. Yeah. He just didn't seem like a very threatening person, especially when you put him in front of The Rock. And I think for being really present in the trailer, Neve Campbell, who plays The Rock's wife in the movie, she plays a army surgeon. She's barely in the film, as well as the kids, who were supposed to be the main reason The Rock goes back into the burning building in the first place. They were shown very prominently in the trailer. Unfortunately, he saves them in like 20 minutes, and it's barely an inconvenience. They actually kill one of the bad guys during that time.
Can I just point out one small thing?
Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, don't get me
What's
wrong.
that?
She was a neurosurgeon in the army, but it takes
Well, not
away
neurosurgeon.
it takes away
Sorry,
from the
she's
fact
not
that the
she's not a
family.
brain surgeon, Ryan. She's not a brain surgeon. I'm sorry. She's just like a regular surgeon.
Oh, she was just
All
like a regular
right,
surgeon. Either way,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
even though she was in the army, it just took away from the film because now he really didn't have a reason to save him because obviously if he has all these skills, she has all the skills too and could have saved herself, which you saw her doing
Oh
that
yeah.
with the wet
If,
towels
if
over her kids' faces.
if we're going over the idea that anyone in the army can kick a bunch of ass and take names, then yeah, I think it's kind of strange that they had her in this role as this damsel in distress, and she ends up like, picking herself up and dealing with everything else, and then The Rock saves her, and it kind of doesn't really. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's just a giant hole there.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this was a clone. This wasn't like really a clone to Die Hard. I mean, what'd you think? Did you think this was a clone to Die Hard?
I don't want to call it a clone to Die Hard at all. It was definitely some. I won't call it a clone to Die Hard because obviously they had their own special plot in Die Hard, and they obviously had their own special plot in this. But this was definitely a generic film that obviously they tried to polish up and dust off the shelves because there's a 1996 remake with there's a 1996 original with Anna Nicole Smith, where she holds the gun and there's actually a woman lead instead of a man lead. But you can tell they just tried to dust this off the shelf and try and redo it, and they should have just left it where it was. To be honest with you,
Ryan, God damn it, Ryan! I told you. This isn't a remake of that movie. I know you want this to be a remake of that movie.
They still have the same. They have the same name, same plot line, and everything.
Okay, but it doesn't. There's a British movie called The Avengers, and it's not a remake for the new Avengers. Come on.
Well, hold on. That's totally different. These movies both are simultaneous. They're not simultaneously, but however, my apologies. But they have the same build. They have two different buildings. Both buildings are tall skyscrapers, and both people are trying to save a family. I'm almost sure they're the same.
So is Die Hard and the Towering Inferno. Why do you think everyone's making fun of this movie?
Either way, my point is, it's not definitely a clone of Die Hard. I won't call it a clone because, like I said, they tried to keep some of Die Hard out of there, which you could honestly tell they were working their hardest on not doing.
Okay, well look, for those of you who don't know, Ryan actually looked up a movie, and it's also called The Skyscraper.
And it also has a tall building.
It also has stars and Nicole Smith, and it looks like if you, I'm gonna show some of the trailer on the video over there for you guys to see, but it's essentially a porno on a freaking skyscraper,
It was made in 1996. That's how they made movies.
And guess what? I wanted to see that more than I wanted to see this movie. And everyone talks about, I mean, she doesn't have she has some kind of talent in there. I mean, I don't know. But look, don't get me wrong. This movie, I mean, as many people have already said this to death, it's Die Hard, it's just, I just feel like it's just ripping out the plot points and making them fit into their movie to make it seem like it's a little more original. But it all feels watered down to be like this kid-friendly film. This is, what is this, PG-13?
Yeah. So I think it would have been better had it been rated R.
Oh, yeah, and there's a lot of gun violence for a PG-13 movie. You see a lot of people get gunned down, it's like a massacre, and no blood. It's just so weird when these kind of disaster movies, with CGI and no blood effects, and it feels so soulless. It feels like you're not in that you're in this reality where no one is getting like completely harmed. There's no I mean, at least with Die Hard there was a lot of blood. I don't even think Dwayne Johnson was bleeding at all, which was kind of the weird. I mean, this movie is fun at times, don't get me wrong, but you will not remember it because the only thing that is good about this movie is of course The Rock. But it's not like you will remember or care about a single thing that happens the rest of the way through. I feel like when it was being more creative, when it was being really stupid with the physics and the human abilities, that everyone's seen the part of the trailer where he's running down a crane lift and he jumps to the other side of the building. He gets a couple of scratches, but it's just, I thought that was funny. It was so stupid that I thought it was kind of cool.
Because amputees really do that type of thing, don't they?
Oh yeah. That's some true athleticism right there.
I think this movie would have been a lot better had they just called it Invincible Amputees.
Better. It sounds better than Skyscraper, that's for sure. It sounds less generic. I actually wish they did more with the leg, I mean, they made that leg a character in that movie.
I'm almost sure that leg's probably trending on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fuck.
He actually tweeted out a picture of that leg.
Oh, did he?
Yes. I don't understand it. I don't like it. But to be honest with you, this film would have been better. One, if they were gonna do that, like I said, they should have called it something else, like Handicap Man Saves the World or something better than
Something
Skyscraper.
stupid, man.
But my problem with it is like you have this man and he's doing all these things that, no offense, handicapped people aren't supposed to do. So it just makes it look stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they were trying to shoot for like, oh, we're trying to empower people that were struggling with an accident, you know. And I feel like the crowd that's gonna do that, they're gonna eat it all up, you know.
So were they
This is
targeting
pure.
wounded army victims?
Yeah, no, you're right. This is a pretty stupid premise now you think about it. But, you know, everything else really did took itself way too seriously, especially once the 25 minutes where I was actually interested. I just tuned out, you know. I was just tuning out the rest of the dialogue, the rest of this crap, you know, the plot.
I think they made
there
this
was
movie
very few points.
specifically so Dwayne Johnson could say, "Daddy's got to go make that bacon."
Oh my god. They got to give him some kind of sappy line. He's like the Will Smith of Samoans right now.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, he's just got to always have a one-liner like, you know, I'll beat you like what is it? A Kenyan drum, and now it's fucking yeah, Daddy's got to make the bacon, and who does Daddy love? Me, you know, like it's just, you know, there's very few points of tension at that point. Everything just flew out the window, and it didn't matter, and it was lazy. It was incompetent, and it really took advantage of the audience it has because it knows people are just going to get their asses in a seat just to watch Dwayne Johnson climbing a skyscraper in 5 minutes.
Would it be fair to give this movie 4.5 stars only because of the intensity and obviously Dwayne Johnson?
I didn't feel any intensity except the part where he's actually climbing the building. That's it.
Yeah,
Everything else,
that's pretty much it.
was
Other
by
than
the
that, it
numbers.
wasn't like the
It was by the
fire.
numbers.
Nothing really did it for me. Nothing did it for me at all. Like I just knew for a
Oh,
fact
no.
this movie was just
No.
made, and it was supposed to be a summer blockbuster because it had him in it.
Yeah, no. And but I'm gonna stick with it. You know, 3 out of 6. Just watch it on your nice HD TV or laptop when it comes out, just to pass the time because this is not worth your time in the theater for me. Like I thought, you know, entertaining as it was, didn't really do much for me. But you're gonna stick with a 4.5. That's a show.
Yeah, 4.5.
Got a 3-star, 4.5. You can decide for yourself whether you want to see Skyscraper. So yeah, follow us on our Twitter, kinda_critics, and then follow us on Instagram, kinda critics, all lowercase. And we'll see you next week.